everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to ChasingCinema.com's official YouTube channel. I'm your host, Jacob Tiranno, and today I'm going to be talking about the Universal presentation at CinemaCon, which is the official convention for NATO, also known as the National Association of Theater Owners. Really quick before I get started, if you've not seen my presentation recap of Warner Brothers, or Disney, or STX, or Paramount, or Sony, click that white eye. A bunch of links will drop down. You'll be able to see all those recaps. Also, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss anything that we publish, including movie reviews or more coverage of CinemaCon, which is coming, including interviews and more presentation recaps. Also, follow me at Jacob Tiranno on Twitter and Instagram because I live tweet all the presentations. I live tweet what's going on at CinemaCon so you can be a part of that experience with me. And I'm also posting images and video on Instagram, so you don't want to miss out on anything. And if you want to feel like you're there with me, that's how you do it. Now, to the Universal presentation, which wasn't super long. I guess I should tell you guys right out of the gate. The Universal presentation ended with a surprise screening of The Fate of the Furious. Now, I cannot talk about this movie. So if you are watching this and you want me to tell you about the movie, or if you want to ask me questions about what's going on, or what characters are doing, I unfortunately cannot answer any questions. I did make one tweet about this movie, about my response. You could find it at Jacob Tiranno, but I cannot address anything. So if you do ask questions in the comments, depending on what it is, chances are I'm not going to be able to answer it. So probably better off not, but I mean, feel free just in case. But yeah, so this is pretty much short because there was obviously 2 hours blocked off for the movie, 2 hours and change. Mark Zoradi opened up the Universal presentation, who's the CEO of Cinemark. Then it was followed by Bob Raposo, the VP of D-Box Entertainment, talking again about the importance of movie theaters and movie and theatrical exhibition, which is what this whole convention is about. And then we were introducing a lot of execs from Universal, and we were talking about the great years that Universal was doing. We had Donna Langley, the chairman of Universal, come out and had to claim that the first quarter, this first quarter for Universal has been the best first quarter ever because of the films Get Out, 50 Shades Darker, and Split. So congratulations to them on that. Langley was just shouting out to everybody, saying a lot of thank yous and everything. So nothing you particularly want to hear. But then she introduced Natalie Morales, who took the stage to host Universal's upcoming slate. She told us we have a lot of surprises, wink wink, which ended up being the Fate of the Furious presentation. But first we decided to talk about Illumination, which was great. I will say Universal's presentation was very different than everyone else's. Usually how it goes, the host says something about the movie, bring out the celebrities, talk about it. They're standing there. This is our movie. It was really cool. This is when it's coming out. Universal was definitely more of a Q&A experience. Not for the audience, but for them. They actually had chairs laid out. They brought their talent down, sit there, and they had like a 15-minute conversation with them. Usually, you're talking for maybe 2 minutes, and then you introduce the footage and you get out of there. I mean, like, these celebrities fly in. Hello, my name's blah, blah, blah. This is a movie that's coming out this. It was a great experience. So here's some unforeseen footage. That might sound like an exaggeration, but it's not. So it's mentioned that Secret Life of Pets and Sing both have sequels in the works. And then after a sizzle reel celebrating the franchise, which I believe is the brand of Despicable Me is worth $5 billion, I think was said. I didn't type it down, but that number stuck in my head. Steve Carell took the stage along with Chris Meledandri, who is one of the execs, and they just kind of talked about the culmination of Despicable Me and prepping for Despicable Me 3. Steve Carell did the voice of Gru, and Drew, who is Drew is Gru's twin brother that he finds out he has in the upcoming Despicable Me 3 film. And I mean, Steve Carell was just on a roll. He had me cracking up. There was at one point where he was just like, men without hair are outcast to society, as he's talking to Chris, who's bald. And they just had a really great chemistry. Steve Carell was doing voices. He talked about Kristen Wiig and said that Kristen Wiig is never not funny. And then we saw some never-before-seen footage from Despicable Me 3. And to no surprise, it looks funny and charismatic. And you have the lovable minions. Now, they started talking about The Mummy. And to introduce The Mummy, panel, we saw, which was probably my favorite reel of CinemaCon. And no, it doesn't have any new stuff in it. Well, it does with The Mummy, but being a classic film fan, one of my favorite types of film are the original Universal monster movies. And we had this beautiful legacy reel with clips from Wolfman, The Invisible Man, Dracula, The Mummy, Frankenstein, Phantom of the Opera, and it was just such an homage to this beautiful legacy that these monster films left, and I was just like, oh my god, this is so beautiful. It eventually succeeded its way into The Mummy, which is obviously what everyone wanted to talk about, but The Mummy looked cool. I mean, I was definitely intrigued by what they showed, but obviously very different, because we all know that they want to build this monsterverse up, the universe of gods and monsters, I believe they're calling it. The cast of Mummy took the stage minus Tom Cruise, and they, obviously were talking about the challenges, and Jake Johnson, Annabelle Wallis, Alex Kurtzman, who's the director of the film, including Sophia Boutella was there as well. And, they were talking a lot about the zero gravity scene, which is a big part of the trailer, and they were talking about how they had to go do it, and they shot it, I believe, 64 takes of this going out of zero gravity, and Tom Cruise doing his own stunts because he's crazy. And then, lo and behold, Tom Cruise himself came up on stage via video. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that because it made it seem like he was there. Via video from London, and introduced footage of The Mummy, which offered some really scary sequences and some really great action. I've been really pleased on what movies Tom Cruise has been doing lately. He's always able to really deliver some great kick-ass action, minus Jack Reacher Never Back Down. And The Mummy is just something I'm looking forward to, like many of the things that were shown this year. Then the cast of Girls Trip, which included Regina Hall, Queen Latifah, Jada Pinkett Smith, came out, and man, I love Regina Hall. I just want to say that. She's amazing. And they were talking about their upcoming comedy, and this was part of the conversation, part of the presentation that was kind of like, okay, I mean, they were the girls weren't really kind of blending, but they were talking about letting, the women's letting loose, something similar that was addressed in the Brad Mom's presentation, at the STX presentation of, we're women and we could get loose, we could have fun, we could do these things, and for some reason the host of the night kept bringing up women's perspective and strong women, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but she just kind of seemed like she was just ladling that a little bit too hard, but then she kind of upset me because she goes, oh, Jada and Queen Latifah, have you guys ever worked together? And I was like, oh, girl, have you not seen Set It Off? That movie is unreal, and you sitting here talking to these two, and you don't know that they 20 years ago they were making Set It Off. I'm disappointed. Anyway, they showed some. They were already talking about the fact that they're working on Girls Trip 2 already before Girls Trip is even out. But basically, this looks like a very raunchy comedy of 4 women who go on this trip and drunk and have some experiences on absinthe and all this crazy things. Looks fine. The biggest, not the surprise as far as what they had surprised for us, but for me, the surprise of the night was I found a movie that I am probably looking forward to more than any of most of the things that were previewed to us this week, and that is a movie called Atomic Blonde. And Charlize Theron, the Atomic Blonde herself, took the stage to introduce some footage, and it looked so badass. It looked so good and so intense and had some of the best action I've seen at CinemaCon as far as sequence-wise. I was just in my chair like, oh man, I gotta see more of that. I can't wait. Atomic Blonde is it looks like a female John Wick. You have this great, it's dealing with spies and the Berlin Wall and, double, and she even said triple agents. I'm really pumped for this movie, and I think you guys should be too. This movie looks like it's going to be a hidden gem that surprises everybody. And then after that, which I couldn't stop talking about, we moved on to The Fate and the Furious, which had Vin Diesel coming out and talking about, before it came out, we kind of had this reel celebrating all the Fast and the Furious movies. Vin Diesel, of course, got very emotional. He does every year. I'm not trying to brag on the guy, but he does every year. He gets emotional. Because he's like, this is the place where I announced 8, 9, and 10. And this is the place where I stood here, because he did at last CinemaCon. He stood on stage and said, Fast 8 is going to be the best movie you've ever seen. So he was also asked about Paul Walker. He obviously got very emotional with that, got a little bit teary up. And he goes, every time we're making this movie, every time we're filming a shot, we're reminded of this angel, referring to Paul Walker. And he goes, we never, as him and the whole entire Fast and Furious team, never want to let him down. And the rest of the family came out. Kurt Russell, Tyrese Gibson, Ludacris, Charlize Theron, and director F. Gary Gray took the stage. And they were like, surprise, we're going to be showing you the movie. And before that, though, I was like, I can't help but notice Dwayne Johnson, who had been there for Baywatch and what else was he? Jumanji. So for the past 2 days, Dwayne's been there. Today, no Dwayne. You know, obviously you guys have been hearing about Dwayne Johnson and Vin Diesel having issues, and that was kind of a bummer not to see them all there. And then the lady who asked Queen Latifah and Jada Pinkett Smith, have you guys ever worked together? She looks at Ludacris and Tyrese Gibson and goes, "What? So she's was asking something. She goes, so yeah, you guys came on about what, Fast 5?" And I was just like, oh, Ludacris been on. I mean, like, are you kidding me? I mean, these guys, Too Fast and Furious. Oh, I was just like, what is happening here? And I get it. There's a lot of pressure. She might not have, things happen. But to me, and I think it's anyone's professional job. You gotta kind of know, you gotta do your homework. And sometimes I'm at fault. I'm on video and I don't know someone's name, or I forget, a certain thing. So I could forgive her on that. But I was just like, what? Set it off? You don't know when they're in the front? Anyway, and that is when they began Fate of the Furious. And again, I cannot talk about it. But guys, that is going to wrap it up for this presentation. After that, the presentation ended. Again, if you've not seen anything of my recaps from presentations in CinemaCon, click that wide eye. They're all available. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this presentation. If you have any questions about anything, or you want me to elaborate more, or if you want me to ask if I missed something, right down here in the comment section below. I'll get back to you. Also, follow me at Jacob Tiranno on Instagram, Twitter. Follow everything that I'm doing, because I don't want you to miss it. Yeah, that's it. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jacob Tiranno, and please continue chasing cinema.